This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the December 20th meeting of the Technical Transportation Committee. I'll bring the meeting to order. Our first item of business is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, second.
Thank you.
I thought you did it. Okay.
Is there any discussion of any of the items in the minutes? Appearing to be none, I'll proceed with the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, nay? That was unanimous, actually, I believe. So the minutes are approved from the last meeting. The next item on the agenda is NDOT access permits.
I'd like to begin for the record that Bill Smith from NDOT was here on time today for the meeting.
It will be noted.
As far as permits go with NDOT, we have 8 active permits that have been showing up here for a while, which means their issued permits are active. And at the top of the list, we have one that is going through the process, hasn't been issued yet, which is US 52 at State Road 28, the south or east junction, where a not a gas station, but a gas station, yeah, what's the right term? Convenience mart, thank you very much from the audience, thank you, is going in. So that's still active. Nothing new since last month has come in. Any questions for me? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the APC progress report. MPO update, first of all, beginning with the 2024 safety target performance measures. Tim, you have the floor.
Thank you. So this is something that we are federally required to do every year, and we've always kind of done it the same way. We do have a couple different ways we could theoretically do this. One is to look through these 5 categories, put together our own performance measures and targets, take our own measurements, etc. That strategy requires a lot of staff time, and we don't feel it would be practical. So we have chosen to go with our other option, which is to concur with and support NDOT's targets. So essentially we do that by sending this letter that we have on the screen here. And we did send that off after it was approved by our policy board at their meeting earlier this month. So this has been sent to the appropriate people at NDOT, mentioning that we do concur with and support all of their targets. So that is kind of how we typically do this, and we did that exactly the same way this year. But I would like to open the floor if there are any questions. I think we're all pretty familiar with this at this point, but just in case. All right, well, it doesn't sound like there are any questions, so if it's okay with you, and I can move on to the next item then?
Yes, safe streets.
So the Safe Streets and Roads for All action plan. So this is something that we have been talking about. I've consulted with several people on this committee about this, and I wanted to kind of give an update of where we're at with putting this plan together. So we put out an RFP, we hired a consultant, and that consultant, Kimberly Horn, has started working on this project. So where we are right now is we are kind of in the early phases. We did some of the number crunching, data analysis. We put together what's called the high injury network, which is one of the big first steps that you have to have for one of these plans. And now we're kind of moving on into the stakeholder and public engagement phase. And as part of that phase, we're going to be putting together a stakeholder committee which would be just experts in the field from different jurisdictions. And we have some questions and specific items we would like feedback on from you. So there are several people on this committee, as you represent different jurisdictions, that I will be contacting specifically to request that either you would be on this committee, or if you are unavailable, you could designate someone from your staff to be on this committee. So I will be reaching out very soon on that. I just wanted to let you know. And we are also in the process of designing I'm not sure if survey is exactly the right term to call it, but a mechanism for gathering feedback about locations around the county that the public may feel are unsafe for various different reasons, whether it would be unsafe for people who are trying to ride the transit system, unsafe for bicycling or pedestrian activity, even unsafe driving in their personal vehicles. If there are locations where they have experienced perhaps either a crash or several close calls and then we would take, like a pin on a map digitally, as well as the opportunity for a comment to explain further the issue. And we'll kind of be sorting through those comments that we get and putting them into the plan as part of the final plan. So be on the lookout for some emails, phone calls, or me coming up to bother you after this meeting for some of you, and we'll keep this moving. Are there any further questions about this?
All right. You have a target date to have it all done and submitted?
As far as a completion date for the final report, we don't necessarily quite have a target yet. It does look like it will be a little hard to get it in before the next round of funding would be due. So unfortunately, we are probably going to have to apply for next year's funding, but it is probably better to go ahead and make sure the plan's good instead of trying to push it through just for the sake of meeting this year's funding deadline.
All right. Thank you. If there are no further questions, we can move on to the Thanksgiving I-65 and US 52 traffic counts. Doug? Tech support is on the way.
All right, we're up and running. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. If you remember back before Thanksgiving, probably remember listening to the news that if you were traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday, be prepared for traffic congestion and delay. And we actually have some proof of that, in that NDOT does have some permanent traffic station counters. We have basically 3 in Tippecanoe County. Unfortunately, 1 is only active right now. But we do have another traffic counter on I-65 that is north of Tippecanoe County. So in this little spreadsheet handout, put together some information about traffic counts during the Thanksgiving holiday. And on I-65, if you look at the little graph, you will see some pretty impressive spikes. Looking at the actual table, the highlighted data on Wednesday and Sunday, you definitely see an increase of traffic on those 2 days. And of course, if you look at the counts for Thursday, the numbers almost look pretty much the same as any other typical day. Interestingly, if you look on 52, this count is located just west of Paramount Drive. Specifically looking at Wednesday and Sunday, those counts are pretty much the same as a typical day. There really is no additional traffic on those 2 days. What is rather interesting, and the graph plate shows this out, is that actually on Thanksgiving Day or Thursday, the traffic counts are somewhat are lower, sometimes even half the amount. So kind of the reversal of what you see on the I-65. So definitely when they do state on the television or on the newscast before Thanksgiving, there is additional traffic. Here's proof of that. So just thought we'd bring this little bit of trivia to you for some interesting facts. So expect this on Jeopardy in probably 3 months if you watch. No. So.
Doug, is that total vehicles east and westbound?
That is correct. I'll go ahead and go on. Regarding our federal funding obligations, the report shows basically no status change. It's the same. Some good news to report that earlier this month we did have a project, one of the phases of Morehouse Road, was on NDOT's bid letting, and this report does not reflect that. The good news is that the bids for this project came in under the engineer's estimate, so it's moving forward. And the even better news is that the bids, the lowest bid, was even lower than what we show in our tip. So surprisingly, I don't know when this has happened recently, we do have a little bit of extra federal funds, STBG funds, to do with sometime. So I'll be talking with Stu on what to start that process and what to use those federal funds for. So the good news is that that project is moving forward, and somebody actually listened and gave us some good favorable bids. Some other news to report is that we learned recently that because of the census, the 2020 census specifically, that our population, not only our area has changed, but the other cities, the Group 2 specifically cities, have changed. So that NDOT is now going to revisit the allocation formula for the Group 2 cities and redistribute the funds based on the new population numbers. So they are planning to do that for 26, 25, and 2024 funding, which we're already in. The good news is that, we know what the numbers are, the population-wise. So if you're curious, I did put it together a spreadsheet, and I do have it with me here, is that comparing our population increase to the other Group 2 cities, our population went up. As a matter of fact, it looks like ours grew more than all the other Group 2 cities. And there were 2 that actually lost population. So what it looks like, and my calculations are correct, we will be getting additional federal funds. And if my numbers are correct, possibly up to $400,000 additional federal funds. So, and that's per year. So we hope at some point in the next month or 2, NDOT will be rolling this information out. And then when they do that, we will be going through the process, of course, of figuring how to obligate those federal funds. We'll open the floor up, basically like a mini tip process, and receive requests for those funds, and then go through the public process to make sure everybody knows, the public-wise, that where their federal funds are going through. So something up and coming. Regarding the redistribution federal funds that we've been talking about for the last 6 months, no word yet. So when we do receive word on that, we will present that information to you. Any questions or comments regarding that?
Okay, appear to be none, so if you can proceed to the NDOT 18-month letting list.
Okay, thank you. Looking at the report we put together, in December there were 2 projects on the NDOT's bid letting. Of course, one was Morehouse Road that we've already mentioned, or I've already mentioned, and that project The low bid was Atlas, so it looks like they'll be doing that. The disappointing news is for the State Road 26 project, the bridge replacement. Unfortunately, all of the bids that were received were over the engineer's estimate, so we have not received any information as to what's going to happen. I suspect that will be put out for rebid in a couple months, unless, Bill, you have any additional information for that? Regarding projects 3 and 4, I did look this morning for the January bid letting information, and that is not completely posted yet, so I have nothing to report on those. Looking further down the list, projects 9, 10, and 11. The most disappointing project, at least to me, is the one on State Road 225. This is the Trust Reconstruction or Repair Project. It has been moved back from a July to a November bid letting, so that means the bridge will be closed a bit longer. The other two, of course, are bridge thin deck overlays. The big news is if you look projects 16, of course, through 20 on the front page, and then projects 21 through 24 on the second page. These projects have all been significantly pushed back. Project 24 specifically has been eliminated. So I suspect this is part of the, and Bill, if you can confirm this, part of the revisit of all the construction costs?
The term we are using is rebalancing of the capital program.
I will write
Yes,
that down.
more rebalancing.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. Kind of interesting. So I do kind of keep my eye on other projects in surrounding counties, and I'd like to point the next one out. Points of interest, of course, you know, NDOT's going to be building a new interchange, US 52 interchange on I-65, just north of the on and off ramps. Right now the project is in engineering and NEPA. And so it's kind of interesting. This project is already on the bid letting list for a December 2024 bid letting. So this project is being pushed forward awfully quickly, and which is good news, but at least for me, it'd be nice if the 225 bridge would be pushed at the same light speed as this one. So, but I just wanted to bring that everybody's attention that in 2025 you'll be seeing a lot more construction on I-65 in the Lebanon area. So,
Doug, I think everyone is used to a lot more construction at this point. I think
especially on the interstate.
NDOT has had its biggest construction season for starting at, I think, I don't even remember now, 2017, and every year has been bigger. So I think we've been saying continue to look for the same until we hit maybe 2025, and then it may start to come down. And as we've been saying that, now it's more like the dollars we're spending as opposed to the number of projects, because everything has cost a lot more. We haven't got as many projects out the door. But there's a lot of work that continues to get done as we try to get the system back in maybe the best condition it's ever been in.
Thank you. That's all I have regarding the 18-month report. Any comments or questions? Good jokes?
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So we've reached the point in our agenda where we will entertain other business that anyone has to bring before the committee. There appear, yes.
Just a note, at the last policy committee, I was present and asked a question about the NDOT plan for Northwestern and Sagamore Parkway, and the policy committee removed from the tip change that project so that it could be discussed further. I don't know if it'll be referred back to this committee first or if it'll just be discussed at the policy committee level, but that I had a few questions and that it ended up being removed from the tip change.
So yes, that did happen. Do you have anything to add, Tim?
Yeah, so just speaking candidly, I think part of the problem is that there's a little bit of a bottleneck on getting some information back about this project. So at least from our end, we as APC still do have a few questions, as well as the elected officials have some questions. So I think there's definitely a desire to set up a meeting with some of the interested parties. Now, of course, because this impacts West Lafayette and they do have a change in administration coming up, we will be seeing, some of those new folks at that meeting, I think. So I know that we're going to work on setting something up. I think we'll probably meet outside of the public committee structure first, and then we will look to take it back to that. How exactly that looks, maybe we're not 100% sure yet, but we just kind of want to make sure that everything is in order and that all the communication is available to everyone who needs to hear it, specifically the elected officials. I think it would be of some value to have the project manager for this available to meet at that meeting. I'm not sure who that is, but that just might be something we'll consider. So just kind of wanted to float that out there as something that we are going to be continuing to monitor. Doug, did you have anything you wanted to tack on to that?
I see it being, of course, being brought back to this committee if there's any changes. And I think probably for public, keeping it, in the public eye, we'll probably bring it back anyway.
I'll just add that expected that we were going to talk about this topic at our meeting that follows this one that isn't public, and talk about exactly what the goal of the meeting is, who needs to be there, and start the wheels turning on getting that scheduled. Because of the holidays, expectation would be we'd be able to get the right group together in January and talk this through. And depending on how fast that happens, maybe there'll be something new to report at the next meeting in a month from now. But if not, it'll be 2 months.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you all for your input on responding to that question. Is there any other business? There appears to be none. So we have a moment for citizen comments, if there are any. Appearing to be none. I am ready to entertain the motion for adjournment.
I will make that motion for adjournment.
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I believe that was unanimous. The meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting will be January 17th, 2024. Everyone have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.